Welcome to the Privacy Report. You know, we spend so much time talking about cookies, those little files that track us that we can, delete. But today we're diving into something much quieter and way more persistent. It's called browser fingerprinting, and it works perfectly even when you think you're safe in private or incognito mode.
It really does. And our goal today is to really strip away the confusion around it. We're going to explain how this unique digital signature gets built entirely from your device's technical settings. We'll uncover what data points create it and, most importantly, what you can actually do to blend back into the crowd.
Exactly. And as always, if you want to stay informed on these topics, you can subscribe to our email newsletter over at theprivacyreport.net. Okay, so let's unpack this. Why is a fingerprint so fundamentally different from a tracking cookie? And I guess why is it arguably more dangerous?
The crucial distinction really lies in storage, or rather, the lack of it. Cookies are actual files. They're stored on your device. You can clear them, you can block them. Fingerprinting, though, identifies you based on the unique mix of settings your browser just exposes automatically.
Yeah.
It has to, just to render a website correctly.
So it's not a file that a website leaves behind on my computer. It's a profile the website constructs based on the information my browser has to give up just to function?
Exactly.
Right.
It's based on necessity, which makes it so hard to block. Think of it this way. A cookie is like a name tag. You can just take it off.
Right.
Browser fingerprinting is more like your voice,
Yeah.
your accent, your specific cadence. That information is always there, whether you want it to be or not. And it updates constantly.
That analogy makes the persistence really clear. But, how unique are these signatures, really? Is it enough to identify one person among millions?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Hmm.
Research, like from the Electronic Frontier Foundation's Cover Your Tracks project,
Yeah.
consistently shows that for many, many users, their fingerprint is unique among thousands, sometimes even millions of other browsers. So this stable signature can follow you from site to site, session to session, completely bypassing private browsing modes.
Because incognito mode only stops your computer from saving history locally. It doesn't hide your browser's technical details.
It doesn't mask them at all.
That is terrifyingly effective. But how is that level of uniqueness even achieved? It can't just be my browser version and operating system. What factors create that singular identity?
And that's where it gets really interesting. The sheer volume of data points is just staggering. It's a composite signature. It starts with the basics, sure, like your device and OS version, your time zone.
Okay, but millions of people could share those things. Where does the real critical uniqueness start to creep in?
It creeps in with the subtle, deep differences in your hardware and your software setup. We're talking about details exposed by JavaScript and hardware APIs, things like your specific CPU and GPU, your device memory, even your battery information.
Wait, my battery information?
Yes, but the biggest factor is often your add-ons, your browser extensions, and critically, your list of installed fonts.
My font library. Hold on, I never actively told a website what fonts I have. How do they find that out?
They use a really clever technique called font probing. They ask your browser to display text using a standard font and then with a potentially rare one by measuring the tiny, tiny differences in how that text is rendered.
They can figure out exactly which fonts are on my machine.
They can infer it with near-perfect accuracy. And since everyone's combination of fonts is highly unique, that becomes a major identifier.
And then there's the one that gets all the attention, right? Canvas rendering.
Right, canvas rendering is the prime example. The browser is asked to draw a simple, hidden graphic. But because of tiny differences in your specific hardware, your graphics driver, your OS, the final image is slightly different at the pixel level on every single machine.
Even if it looks identical to me.
Even if you can't see a difference. When the website hashes that image data, it produces a unique ID. And even if you disable JavaScript, some limited fingerprinting can still happen through things like network headers.
Okay, so now we understand the mechanism, which leads to the big so what. Why is this tool so uniquely valuable to the advertising and tracking ecosystem?
Persistence is key, but so are accuracy and correlation. Data brokers can hash that fingerprint, store it, and use it as a kind of permanent primary key for you. They use it to link all your activity across multiple websites. Even when you never log in, it lets them build those incredibly detailed behavioral profiles.
And while the ad tech world is the primary culprit, we should acknowledge not all uses are malicious. There are legitimate security applications for this, aren't there?
Absolutely. Banks and payment processors use fingerprinting for fraud detection, specifically for account takeover prevention.
So how does that work?
Well, if a login comes from a suddenly different fingerprint, say a new operating system or a totally different font list, that suggests something suspicious is happening.
And it can trigger an extra authentication step.
Exactly. It's a security measure.
But that puts us in a bit of a bind, doesn't it? If I actively try to defeat fingerprinting, am I going to inadvertently flag my own bank transactions as suspicious?
That is the core conflict. The very systems designed to protect us can accidentally flag proactive privacy measures as risky behavior.
Right.
And the whole thing operates with almost zero transparency. You rarely know when you're being fingerprinted or how that data is being shared.
So what does this all mean for someone who just wants to regain some control? Since we can't just clear it like a cookie, the goal must be, what, camouflage, making your fingerprint less unique.
Precisely. The goal is to blend in. And trying to retroactively harden a mainstream browser it's a losing game. The approach has to be proactive.
So what does that sequence of protective steps look like practically?
Step one starts with your browser choice. Use browsers that were designed from the ground up to fight this. We're talking about Tor browser, Brave, or Firefox with its enhanced tracking protection.
And what about the very tools we install to fight tracking? You mentioned extensions. Let's talk about extension hygiene.
That's a crucial one. Every single extension you add can expose new, unique identifiers. If you install some obscure extension that only a few thousand people use, you've just made your fingerprint vastly more unique.
So you have to be really aggressive about auditing them.
Absolutely. Only install what is necessary.
Okay, that's a great practical tip. And finally, you mentioned the concept of isolation.
Right. Step 3, isolation. Use features like container tabs in Firefox or just different browser profiles to segment your online life. This limits cross-site correlation. It keeps your work browsing totally separate from your personal stuff.
Okay, let's clarify two big misconceptions. We know private mode doesn't help. What about VPNs? People rely on them so heavily for privacy.
VPNs are essential for hiding your IP address, which is one component of the fingerprint, a very stable one.
But it's just one component.
Exactly. A VPN doesn't change your font library, your GPU driver, or your screen resolution. It only reduces your uniqueness slightly. It is not an anti-fingerprinting solution.
So if the goal is uniformity, to look exactly like everyone else, what defense actually achieves that?
The Tor browser is still the gold standard for this. It's specifically engineered to standardize its output. It basically tells every website, I am always this exact screen size with these exact fonts. This makes all Tor users look alike, dramatically lowering the uniqueness of the fingerprint to almost zero.
And if you're listening right now and wondering just how unique your own browser is, you don't have to guess.
No, you can test it. Use a tool like the EFF's Cover Your Tracks, or AMI-Unique or Browser Leaks. Running that test and seeing exactly how many unique data points your browser is exposing. That's often the aha moment that gets people to take action. And looking ahead, this problem is not going away. The modern web relies on JavaScript and hardware acceleration, which constantly provide this kind of exploitable data. True protection requires technological fixes from browsers, but also constant informed vigilance from us.
We've seen that browsers are slowly responding, with Firefox tightening its protections and Chrome experimenting. But the question for you, the listener, is this. Knowing that unnecessary software and extensions are often the easiest way for your identity to be made unique, how often do you actively vet the third-party tools you rely on every day versus simply clicking install?
It's something we all need to consider much more closely.
Absolutely. Thank you for tuning in to the Privacy Report.
If you found this information valuable, please remember to like and subscribe wherever you get your listening done.
This discussion was made with the assistance of AI.